Hey everybody, I'm artist Micah Goguen, and today we're here to look at adding a little bit more dimension to your landscapes by adding stencil texture into your work. We're going to be working on a 12 by 12 landscape, incorporating a little bit of dimension and even a little shimmer into our work. So join us for this new video from GelPress. All right, we're ready to get started on this amazing landscape where we'll be incorporating pattern stencils, a little bit of interference colors, which are slightly iridescent, and we'll be printing directly on a panel. The things that we'll need for this, I'm going to be using a 12 by 12 Ampersand Gessobord. This is a Cradled Gessobord. I've taped off the edges so I don't get any thumbprints or anything on it, but it's 12 by 12. I'm going to be doing all the work with a number 6 flat black pearl SilverBrush. It's nice and soft so it doesn't damage the plate, but you can get a lot of wonderful brush strokes on there. We're going to be using a little bit of golden Hi-Flow Acrylic. We're going to use a fluorescent blue as our background color. We're going to be using the golden open acrylics. I've got a yellow, which is Hansa Yellow Opaque, a titanium white, a quinacridone magenta, a phthalo blue, a little bit of trans red oxide, and a little bit of paynes gray. And those are the colors I'm going to be using. Open acrylics are a slow drying acrylic where you can get effects like oils, but it's all a water-based acrylic. I've also got a standard brayer, a 6-inch brayer, and I've got a little bit of the fluid interference colors, and you can see the shimmer. I've got interference blue and interference gold we'll be using. So to start this project off, I've taken a landscape image and I've run it through a couple of apps just to make it a little bit more offset and painterly, but I've also exaggerated some of the colors, and I also made it reflexive. So this is the backwards image of what I actually want the finished painting to look like. I've used a program called Rapid Resizer to reformat it so that it's 12 by 12, and I'm using my GelPress gel plate 12 by 12, and I've already got that laying here on top of the image. So the image was printed and the plate is just on top. And then I've got my print palette here. And of course, I've got some water and some paper towels. So what I'm going to start doing is I'm going to take the Gessobord and I'm actually going to take a little bit of the iridescent, I'm going to take a little bit of the fluorescent blue, and I'm just going to put it on the panel, and I'm just going to let that kind of brush in with a little bit of water. Just make it stained so that I've got a little bit of color to work with. So that I have a nice stained background. And I'll even take a little bit of fluorescent pink. Okay, now I'm going to go and dry this so that it'll be heat set. So I have my Ampersand Gessobord, and I have collectively taken the fluorescent blue and the fluorescent pink, and I've just applied them on the panel and then just taken a paper towel and kind of rag wiped this to get a little bit of a staining color down. And now that that's all set, I'm going to take a little bit of the interference, and I'm going to put the gold on the lower half. Then I'm going to do the same thing with the blue. And hopefully you can see this iridescent shimmer going on. And then I'm going to dry that. Right now that I have my panel dry, you can really see that color shimmer. I'm just going to set my panel aside here. And I'm going to come back to my gel plate drawing. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a couple of stencils, and I've just taken these Crafters Workshop 12 by 12 stencils, and I'm going to pick a different pattern for the largest sections of the painting, which in this case I'm going to use the dots to represent the sky, and I'm going to use this really awesome pattern here, the wavy lines, to be able to represent the lower half here. So I'm going to start with my sky, And I'm just going to line up the stencil so that it fits the 12 by 12 format here. And then I'm going to pick a color that I think would be kind of a contrasting color that would show up. I'm going to take a little bit of my phthalo blue, put that down, just a squeeze because it's a real intense color, so I don't need too much. And I'm going to take a little hint of magenta, just to exaggerate the colors that we put down in the beginning. And then I'm going to take a good bit of titanium white. And squeeze that down. And then I just want to get a good braying of them. Keeping it fairly light. Look at that gorgeous color. And I'm just going to roll them across the surface where the dots would be, just on the sky portion, making sure that I get contact with the plate, go in both directions. And because this is slow drying acrylic, I don't have to wash the stencil right away. Okay, got my beautiful dots going on there. And then I'm going to do the same thing with the wavy lines on the bottom. Although in this case, I would like to have a little bit of a darker tone. And I also have to be careful because this is wet. So I don't want to lay stencil on top of stencil and distort the lines. So I'm just going to place it on the bottom half here. And just let it make contact up to the division point. So I'm going to hold it up like this. And I'm going to take, this time, a little bit of yellow and add to the mix because I've already got a blue mixture here. A little dot of yellow, and then I'll also add just a little tinge of Payne's gray. And I'm not even going to clean the brayer. I'm just going to bray that color right in to get a darker green. I'm going to lift up the stencil and I'm going to do the same thing and apply the lines as far as I can on the plate without disturbing the dots. And lift that up. And now I have two textures going on. Again, it's nice. I don't have to clean the stencil or the brayer at this time because of the slow drying acrylics. And what I'm going to choose to do now is I'm going to take a paper towel and wrap it around my finger, and I'm just going to wipe away the subject matter. So for example, the trees here, I'll take some of the dots off of that. So now I've already got a texture build up in addition to what I've laid down on the plate. So now I'm just going to come back and revisit my colors. I've already got a little bit of white, magenta, a little bit of phthalo. I'm going to put the trans red oxide down. I'm going to give myself a little bit more of the yellow. I'm going to give myself a little bit of Payne's gray. And I'm just going to go in and start with my dark, the Payne's gray. And I'm just going to brush in some of that tree texture, starting with my darks. Notice how the darks are just here on the right side, so I'm just going to take a little more. Okay, now I'm going to go in with my green that I'm going to mix, and I can use some of the green that I've already got, or I can add a little dash of the phthalo blue to it to brighten it up. And I'm just going to build on my color here. I'm going to neutralize this green a little bit with some of the red so that I can get some of these warmer tones. Put my highlights on the right side, really focusing on the painterly effects. Also my highlights, I don't want to distribute too much light in one place. And I want to leave some of the stenciling to be seen. Then I'm going to take my panel that has the luminosity on it, and I'm just going to adjust it so that it fits over the edge, and I'm going to line it up with my fingers here so that I can drop it straight down. Boom. Then I'm going to move this guy out of the way, and I'm going to flip the whole thing over with the paper still intact, so that I can really make sure that this gets contact with the panel. Anytime I'm printing on a rigid substrate, I want to make sure that the plate's making contact. And I can even take a sneak peek if I want to peel back the paper, although if I pull it back too far, I won't be able to see the alignment. So I'm just taking a little peek to make sure it has contact, and if it does, then I can flip it back over. And I'm just going to pull the plate from the panel. And I can see my print, and I've got all these dreamy qualities with this iridescent, the wonderful texture of the gel plate, and then I've got my correct image where it's facing the right way, and I can just make any kind of enhancements on the plate from the palette. So I'm just going to focus, like maybe I want this to be a little bit darker, so I can just go back in and enhance with my brush. So I hope you enjoyed this process. If you did, you're welcome to look back at past videos where we carried about some of the same techniques, just using different strategies. You can even take the back of your brush and do some mark making for some drawing outlines around the trees. But I hope that you enjoyed this process, and hopefully you'll try a couple of these. We can't wait to see what you post on your own, and we look forward to sharing more processes with the GelPress gel plates.